Right. Citizen Kane. Arguably one of the greatest films ever made, produced and created in the 1940s by director Orson Welles, is heralded as a film classic and has had many people regarding it as one of, if not the greatest film ever made. My personal thoughts on it? It is fucking trash. Let's take a look. So we start the movie with a cliche villain hideout shot with accompanying evil villain music just to ensure you that Citizen Kane is not entirely a very good person. We see Citizen Kane on his deathbed dying of old age, and at the 2.5 minute mark we've already established our story arc for this literal 2-hour movie. To be honest, I'm happy that we're just running things along. Hopefully this will be over quickly. So Kane dies, and in this movie, not specifically designated as a documentary, we spend the next 10 fucking minutes listening to a documentary about the massive mansion which Kane eventually buys and owns. Which naturally could be told in about 3 minutes perhaps? So, 57 years after the building of Xanadu, this man by the name of Walter P. Thatcher recalls a journey he made in his youth regarding the attack made to him by Kane by the movie's plot twist.
My firm had been appointed trustee by Mrs. Kane for a large fortune which she recently acquired. It was her wish that I should take charge of this boy, this Charles Foster Kane.
Is it not a
Johnson
that on this...
An American or communist? So literally 12 minutes into this 2-hour flick, we've gotten most of everything about Charles Foster Kane's life and all the shit that went down in it. Yet a bunch of reporters still need to know what went on behind the scenes, and what Kane's last words of Rosebud symbolize.
Thompson, a man's dying words.
Where are they? You don't read the papers.
When Charles Foster Kane died, he said just one word.
Rosebud.
That all he said?
Rosebud.
Tough guy, huh?
Yes, Rosebud.
Guy's calling
Just
for
that
Rosebud.
one word. But who is she?
What was that?
Spoiler alert! It's a letdown.
You see, Thompson, it isn't enough to tell us what a man did. You've got to tell us who he was.
Well, that's easy enough. He's an asshole.
Picture up a week.
Thus, we kick off the plot for our movie in which these bunch of reporters try and find out what Rosebud meant because apparently the 10-minute newsreel about Charles Foster Kane just wasn't fun enough.
Rosebud, dead or alive. It'll probably turn out to be a very simple thing.
Well, I mean, could be anything. Could be the name of his teddy bear. Could be the nickname of somebody that he once loved. Could be the name of a childhood sled he had, I know. So, this is where we meet Miss Alexander, and to be fair, this tracking shot is exceptionally amazing, especially for the time that it was shot in.
Leave me alone. I'm minding my own business, you mind yours.
If I could just have a little talk with you, Miss Alexander,
Get
want to ask
out
you.
of here. Get out!
Yeah,
Sorry.
that went well, didn't it?
Hello, I want New York City.
I've got a drunk white woman here in need of emotional support and possible canoodling. Her husband's recently dead, so she is free and easy.
Austin? Hey,
John.
John, you just might be able to help me. When she used to talk about Mr. Kane, did she ever say anything about Rosebud?
Rosebud? Well, thank you, Mr. Thompson. Thanks. As a matter of fact, just the other day, when the papers were full of it, I asked her. She never heard of Rosebud.
She never mentioned it was his childhood sled which he once hit somebody with, which will lead to the pinnacle closing shot of one of cinema's most beloved films. So reporter number 1 goes to the death vault of Walter P. Thatcher to read on all the loggings Walter made on Kane to try and find out just what Rosebud means. Because it's such a goddamn important thing. The world will fall into literal anarchy if Rosebud isn't found out as Kane's childhood sled, possibly. So we cut back to 1871, where we see the one scene where the actual Rosebud plays any part in the story whatsoever. Mrs. Kane's giving Charles away to a boarding school.
Yes.
I think.
I've got his trunk all packed. I've had it packed for a week now.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
So Walter goes out to meet Charles, and we see the incredibly important to the story plot point where Charles hits Walter with Rosebud.
Oh, come. I'm not as frightening as all that, am I? Now, what do you say? Let's shake.
Why, Charles!
Charles, you almost hurt me. What's that under here? What's that to just lay with?
Charles, I say, it's almost as if you want this thing to be the object for the grandiose ending of this film. That'd be preposterous. Symbolism. I mean Rosebud. I mean spoiler. I mean... Oh, and there he is in all his douchebagginess.
Is that really your idea of how to run a newspaper?
I don't know how to run a newspaper, Mr. Thatcher. I just try everything I can think of.
Charles, you know...
Well, I suppose that shows that he's the best for the job, huh?
And you of a fact that you seem to have forgotten.
Yes.
That you are yourself one of the largest individual
Mr. Thatcher.
stockholders in the public transit company.
The trouble is you don't realize you're talking to two people. As
You
Charles
guys
Foster
do
Kane, who
realize
owns
that Reporter One is still
82,364
reading this
shares of public
booklet,
transit
right?
preferred, you see, I do have a general idea. But you see, I have money and property.
And an awful plot ending involving a childhood sled I may or may not have hit you over the head with when I was younger.
Don't you think it's rather unwise to continue this philanthropic enterprise? This Inquirer that's costing you $1 million a year?
You're right, Mr. Thatcher. I did lose $1 million last year. I expect to lose $1 million this year.
So are we supposed to like Kane or not? I'm a little bit confused. So we move on to 1929 now, and Kane's newspaper company is going bankrupt, and is getting the help of Walter's company to buy him out of bankruptcy.
Hereby said Charles Foster Kane hereby relinquishes all control thereof, and of the syndicates pertaining thereto, and any and all other newspaper, press, and publishing properties of any kind whatsoever, and agrees to abandon all claim
Which
thereto.
means we're bust.
So Reporter One's time is up. He's had plenty of time to read up about Charles Foster Kane, and
Did you find what you were looking for?
No.
has found jack shit about Rosebud, despite him literally reading a chapter book's worth of Rosebud. So, Reporter One goes and talks with the chairman of the board to try and find out what Rosebud means, and we take a look at when Kane joins the Inquirer.
Jedediah, after you, Mr. Kane.
Yes, Mr. Kane.
Mr. Carter, this is Mr. Bernstein.
Mr. Bernstein.
How do you do?
my general manager, Mr. Carter.
How do you do, Mr. Carter?
Carter.
Yes.
Mr. Carter.
How do you do?
Mr. Carter.
Yes, how do you do?
Mr. Carter.
Yes, Mr. Barnes.
Mr. Carter.
Kane.
Mr. Carter, is this your office, Mr. Carter?
I
Mr. Carter, Mr. Carter, Mr. Carter, I must say, Mr. Carter, is this your office, Mr. Carter? Well, I say, Mr. Carter, that's quite a nice office, Mr. Carter. I hope you don't mind if I take your office, Mr. Carter. I put my stuff in there anyways, Mr. Carter. Thank you so very much, Mr. Carter, for letting me use your fucking office without asking you first, Mr. Carter. Okay, here's another good shot that I like. I like that Kane's face is being shrouded in the darkness here. Again, that's another good shot.
20 years.
I'll give this movie one thing. It at least does really good with the
6 years ago,
cinematography.
I looked at a picture of the world's
And there's another good shot. So, as the Inquirer is celebrating selling over 40 million papers, Kane decides to throw them all a show by... Okay, I have no clue.
There is a man. A certain man. And for the
Oh, it's a musical now. How about now? So, Mr. Leland gets a note from Kane from his holiday in France stating he wants to buy the world's biggest diamond.
Bernstein, am I a stuffed shirt? Am I a horse-faced hypocrite? Am I a New England school marm?
Yes. If you thought I'd answer.
So Kane returns from France looking like a millionaire oil salesman, takes the Inquirer's reward trophy, and runs away again, having been married to his first wife.
The way things turned out, I don't need to tell you. Miss Emily Norton was no Rosebud.
Our childhood sled, for instance? That could be a Rosebud. So Reporter One goes to the local hospital to talk to Mr. Leland, find out if he knows anything about Rosebud.
He never gave himself away. He never gave anything away. He just left you a tip.
He didn't even give away the ending to this film when you find out that Rosebud was his childhood sled, possibly, maybe. So if you didn't guess, this is also a big waste of time, and yet we're going to be here for a while regardless, as Mr. Leland talks to Reporter One about Charles Kane's love life, because everybody wants to know about Charles Kane's fucking love life. So, we engage in an interesting montage of Kane and his wife living with each other and slowly but surely falling out of love and showing more of Kane being a bit of an asshole.
Wasn't he ever in love with her?
He married for love. Love. That's why he did everything. That's why he went into politics. It seems we weren't enough. He wanted all the voters to love him, too. That's all he really wanted out of life was love. That's Charlie's story, how he lost it.
And now we cut to when Kane meets his second wife, whom apparently has a toothache.
What?
Toothache.
Toothache? Oh. You mean you've got a toothache?
Riveting. So Kane goes with her to her home to get some hot water to wipe the mud off of his jacket. And that doesn't seem to be the only thing on your mind, if you know what I'm saying.
What you need is get your mind off it.
Hey, Kane, I'm having none of that! I'm calling the fucking police!
Excuse me.
Kane and Susan continue talking and getting to know each other. And he finds out that she's a singer and things get
But my voice isn't that kind.
uncomfortable.
Well, you know what mothers are like.
Yes, I know. Have you got a piano?
A piano?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there's one in the parlor.
Would you sing for me?
Oh, you wouldn't want to hear me sing.
Yes, I would.
Well,
Well, don't tell me your toothache is still bothering you.
Oh, no, that's all gone.
All right.
Okay, now I'm calling the police. So it seems Kane is running for governor of the state, and I honestly don't think he's using a microphone here. I just think Kane can naturally project his voice through sheer arrogance alone. So Kane claims his first act as governor is to call for the prosecution of his opponent, Jim Getty, because...
I'd make my promises now if I weren't
Because...
arranging to keep them.
So Kane's wife suspects him of cheating on her with Susan Alexander, and she takes Kane to where the singer lives to confront them. But it appears Jim Getty's threatened Susan to inform Kane's wife of them, because...
But Mrs. Kane, if I owned a newspaper and I didn't like the way somebody was doing things, some politicians say, I'd fight him with everything I had. Only I wouldn't show him in a convict suit with stripes so his children could see the picture in the paper or his mother.
You're a cheap, crooked grafter.
We're talking now about what you are.
Honestly, I'm not sure. I think Getty's maybe wants to take the governor's role. So Kane's wife suggests he should take Getty's offer and leave town for a few days so Getty's can win the election. However, Kane decides against it.
Don't worry about me. I'm Charles Foster Kane. You will bow down before me. I'm no cheap, crooked politician trying to save himself from the consequences of his crimes. Both you and then one day your heirs. Geddes! I'm going to send you to Sing Sing! Sing Sing, Geddes! Sing Sing!
Though, sadly, it seems Charles Kane's love affair has been brought to the light, and Kane's business releases a set of newspapers claiming that Kane's election was rigged.
Hello, Jedediah.
Oh, the humanity. So, Kane's wife left him, and Kane has now married the singer and built an opera house in an attempt to make money again. This is the first time in years that Kane and Leland have talked, and it seems it may be the last. Oh, I'm kidding. He's just drunk off his ass. So, they find out that Leland was writing a notice in regards to Kane's wife Susan, and Kane takes things into his own hands and continues to type it up. So Reporter 1 finishes his conversation with Mr. Leland and goes back to Miss Alexander to talk about her relationship with Kane.
I'd rather you just talked. Anything that comes into your mind about yourself and Mr. Kane.
You wouldn't want to hear a lot of what comes into my mind about myself and Mr. Charlie Kane. You know, maybe I should never have sung for Charlie that first time I met him.
We now cut to when Susan is practicing for her opera house performances, being told by what looks like a Sacha Baron Cohen character, and who seems just as annoying. So as Susan performs another performance, both her tutor and the majority of the audience look on in disappointment. And honestly, I have no idea why. She has a good voice, and I've no clue why people find her bad. But hey, at least we have something for Shia LaBeouf to parody. So now, as the newspapers become more aware of Susan's singing, she gets more and more outraged with every bad review. And sadly, more and more
Not the kind of
annoying.
friends I know. But of course, I'm not high class like you, and I never went to any swell school.
That'll be enough, Susan.
So Susan wants to give up on her singing, and yet Kane still wants her to keep singing, as he doesn't want to be made a fool of.
Well, I can tell you one thing you're not going to keep on being funny about, and that's my sin. I'm through. I never wanted to in the first place.
You'll continue with your singing, Susan. I don't propose to have myself made ridiculous.
So she sings, critics hate it, Kane wants her to keep going. So she sings, critics hate it, Kane wants her to keep going, and that goes on for quite some time. So it looks like Susan is taken ill due to the strain of the opera, as Kane calls it.
The sedative Dr. Wagner gave her was in a somewhat larger bottle. I guess the strain of preparing for the new opera has excited and confused her.
So Kane agrees with Susan and stops her singing career and lets her live in the Xanadu mansion.
It's their loss.
And you can tell from here that their life is going to get so much more exciting.
I thought we might have a picnic tomorrow, Susan.
Huh?
I thought we might have a picnic tomorrow. Find everybody to spend the night at the Everglades.
Fight everybody. Order everybody you mean and make them sleep in tents. Who wants to sleep in tents when they got a nice room of their own, with their own bath, where they know where everything is?
Thought we might have a picnic tomorrow, Susan.
So is Susan upset that she meets people, or that she doesn't meet people? So Kane holds a picnic for his friends, and goddamn Susan is just a fucking pain to listen to.
You're in a tent, darling. You aren't at home. I can hear you very well if you speak in a normal tone of voice.
What's the difference between giving me a bracelet or giving somebody else $100,000 for a statue you're going to keep crated up and never even look at? It's just money. It doesn't mean anything. You never really give me anything that belongs to you, that you care about.
Susan, I want you to stop this.
I'm not going to stop it.
Right now.
You never gave me anything in your whole life. You just tried to buy me into giving you something.
Susan!
You don't love me. You want me to love you. Sure. I'm Charles Foster Kane. Whatever you want, just name it and it's yours. But you gotta love me.
Okay. Okay. I just need to say something right here. I do not condone real life abuse at all. It's not a good thing to do. But my fucking god, that feels good. Let's play it again.
But you gotta love me.
So it appears that Susan is fed up with Kane's shit and has decided to leave him.
In case you haven't heard how I lost all my money, and it was plenty, believe me.
The last 10 years have been tough on a lot of people.
Ah, they haven't been tough on me. I just lost all my money.
So Reporter 1 has gone to another person in search for what Rosebud could mean, and they talk about when Susan left Kane.
Like a service? Yeah, but I know how to handle him. Like the time his wife left him.
Boom! Jesus fucking Christ, are you kidding me? What was that about? I honestly, I never took Citizen Kane for a horror movie, but a jump scare? Really? Really, you're gonna pull down on us? Okay. I don't know if the autistic vision of Orson Welles was absolutely quintessentially needing a transition of a bird? But what was with the scream? That's the type of shit that you hear in The Exorcist. That's the fucking scary ghost call video from fucking the late 2000s has a less powerful, less aggressive scream than that. Jesus Christ, the first time I watched this movie, my heart jumped out of my fucking chest. Excuse me, I'm gonna need a minute. After you've recovered from that last heart attack, it seems as though Kane isn't taking his wife leaving him very well, and he starts trashing his room, and amidst the destruction comes a familiar sight.
Rosebud.
Oh my god! Rosebud was a snow globe the entire time! What's about as stupid as a fucking sled? So, they start taking away all of Kane's belongings as the reporters talk about if anyone found out what Rosebud meant. So now, finally, a group of men take Kane's sled and throw it into a furnace, revealing what Rosebud truly was. And that's just about the weakest thing I've ever seen in my fucking life. It was his childhood sled, whoop-de-fucking-do. His dying words, the last words he'd ever say on planet Earth, were referencing a sled he had as a child that nobody else knew about. Whether this is just his muddled up old brain doing a bit of nostalgia diving or the biggest troll in history, I don't really see the significance. So, that was Citizen Kane, and just... wow, I don't like it. I'll give it this. It does have a lot of nice shots. The cinematography for the time is really well done, and I can see why people would like it from that standpoint, even going so far as to inspire a Shia LaBeouf movie. But aside from that, the characters are just... dull. Kane is an asshole, the story is uninvesting, and it drags like hell. And its ending is just... non-existent! What do we learn about Charles Kane from this? That his life was so bland, the only decent memory he had of it was his childhood sled? That he loved an amalgamation of wood more than either of his wives? That the purpose of having such a weak reveal is to show that no matter who you are in life, in the end the only thing you'll be is dead, so holding on to materialistic items is not only childish but stupid? Well, the only thing I got from this movie is that it's boring. And I hate to say that about movies, I really do. But... I like it, what can I say? I like it when movies try and take their time to tell their story, to get their characters, to develop stuff. But the problem is, you need to keep people invested. Citizen Kane wants to take its time, but it doesn't want to keep people invested. Which is not entirely a bad thing. It comes, it does what it does, it takes a while to do what it does, but it does what it wants to do, and then it leaves. And some people, they get a lot out of that. I just did not. I thought it was a waste of my time, and is definitely not a movie that I quite enjoy. To sum everything up, if you like this movie, I can't really fault you. There is one or two things that I do enjoy about the movie, and it's definitely not the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. So, if you like it, whatever. I don't really care. But, that being said, I want to know what you guys thought of this video. Did you like the review? Did you not like the review? Do you like Citizen Kane? Do you not like Citizen Kane? If so, why so? If not, why not? Drop them down there. I will be reading them. I will take everything into account. If you enjoy this review and you want to see more of this stuff, you want to hear more of my opinions on other type of films, let me know and I will do that. Assuming that the YouTube algorithms will actually allow me, because we all know how down the drain YouTube is at the moment. So as the Inquirer it's celebrating. So Kane holds a picnic for his friends, and goddamn Susan is just a fucking pain to listen to. And no, I'm not talking about her singing. Charles, I say, it's almost as if you want this thing to be the big... I always mess this one up. Charles, I say, it's almost as if you... Charles, I say, it's almost as if you want this thing to be the big finishing option. Finishing option, yeah.